Look at yourself in the mirror. It feels obvious where you reside. We're taught the brain acts as an absolute monarch, sitting behind your eyes, issuing commands through biological wires to a passive, obedient machine called the body. But the brain's absolute power has a fatal vulnerability. It's completely dependent on its life support hardware. Cut the nerve connections to the heart, and you die instantly. Sever the connection to the lungs, and you stop breathing. Yet there is a biological anomaly that shatters this top-down model. If you sever the massive nerve cord running downwards from the skull to the stomach doesn't even blink. Without a single input from the skull, the digestive tract continues to break down food, regulate internal fluids, and manage its own complex environment. The stomach is the only organ in the human body capable of complete, unbothered autonomy. This independence forces us to ask, who is actually driving the human experience? The answer lies in the walls of your digestive tract. This is the enteric nervous system. To understand its power, look at this chart comparing the sheer physical scale of our two neural networks. On the left, the central brain holds roughly 86 billion neurons. On the right, the gut contains up to 500 million neurons of its own. It is a massive, independent grid. This chart highlights how the enteric nervous system operates as an independent government, managing immune defense and synthesizing the specific biochemicals required to modulate your mood, while the central brain handles executive thought. Human anatomy is a dual processing system, a partnership between the skull and a competing, autonomous biological powerhouse. We naturally associate our emotions with the head. You feel joy, dread, or motivation and assume those feelings originated in your mind. But the pharmacology of human emotion tells a different story. This graph tracks our mood-altering chemicals. The brain produces just 5% of serotonin and 50% of dopamine. The vast majority of the molecules responsible for your happiness, stability, and drive are manufactured in the dark corridors of your intestines. The software running this chemical factory is your microbiome. For every human cell you have, there is at least one bacterial cell. You carry an alien ecosystem of trillions of microbes that possess millions of unique, non-human genes. These microbes act like a cartel. Different species thrive on different fuels. Some want fats, others crave simple sugars. To get what they want, they synthesize chemical analogs to our neurotransmitters, hijacking our reward pathways to make us feel euphoric when they are fed and miserable when they are starving. To prove this, researchers took gut bacteria from human patients suffering from severe clinical depression and transplanted it into sterile, germ-free mice. Within weeks, the mice stopped exploring, withdrew socially, and displayed elevated stress hormones. The clinical depression transferred completely through the gut bacteria. The sudden craving you feel for junk food, or a sudden unexplained shift in your mood, isn't always a conscious failure of your willpower. You are often executing direct orders issued by a microscopic cartel. For an autonomous ecosystem to dictate behavior, it needs a way to transmit those chemical demands directly into the skull. It does this through the vagus nerve, the longest, thickest, and most complex data cable connecting these two biological titans. For decades, science assumed the brain used this nerve to shout orders downward. This visualization proves that backward. A tiny trickle, 10 to 15%, travels down. The remaining 85 to 90% is a massive highway of data surging upward from the gut, wiring directly into the amygdala, your fear center, and the insula. Your brain's baseline resilience to stress is constantly being molded by the raw, unfiltered commentary screaming up from your digestive tract every single millisecond. When this system functions properly, we feel healthy and stable. But modern industrial lifestyles, broad-spectrum antibiotics, highly processed diets, and relentless psychological stress are violently destabilizing our internal ecosystems. This sustained assault degrades the gut lining, which is just a single layer of epithelial cells separating the chaotic digestive tract from your sterile bloodstream. When this incredibly thin barrier breaks down, it creates a structural failure known as leaky gut. What follows is a biological mutiny. Toxic bacterial components escape the damaged gut and bleed into the blood. Your immune system registers this as an alien invasion and triggers a massive systemic inflammatory response. These inflammatory markers travel through the bloodstream. They cross the blood-brain barrier. Once inside, they provoke the brain's resident immune cells, the microglia, into aggressively attacking healthy neural tissue. The brain lacks pain receptors, so you don't feel this internal attack as physical pain. You experience chronic brain fog, anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure, and severe clinical depression. We spent half a century treating depression strictly as a top-down chemical imbalance in the mind, entirely missing the fact that millions of people are suffering the psychological fallout of a gastrointestinal riot. The raw evidence points to a decentralized corporate empire. The brain acts as the CEO, navigating the external world, while the gut operates as the COO, managing internal resource allocation, immune defense, and supply chain manufacturing. They hold immense reciprocal leverage over one another. If the gut is unhappy, it can crash the CEO's entire operating system with waves of anxiety to force a change in strategy. If the brain is overwhelmed by an external crisis, it can instantly shut down the gut's operations. True control of the human body does not belong to a lone dictator in your skull. It belongs to the delicate, lifelong alliance between the mind and the belly.